Hello, and welcome to another Website Depot podcast. As ever, I'm your host, Greg Benevent, and I am once again very happy to be joined by Noël Dombroski. How you doing there, Noël?
I'm doing great. It's great to be back. I've missed the podcast. I've especially missed talking about Pinterest, which is our topic today.
We're not doing introductions today, little cutesy questions. We're like, what are you going to talk about, Noël? No, she's jumping right in. She was not feeling well. She's come off the IR, and she came back to us today specifically to talk about Pinterest. Thinking about Pinterest, and then she got better. I'm not saying there's a connection, but there might be. So she's going to tell us about how Pinterest can cure your ailing business. Noël, let's get right into it. You sent me this thing about Pinterest, and it's fascinating to me. Please tell us what you've recently learned about Pinterest.
Absolutely. Something that got me through actually while I was sick was Pinterest. So maybe this is also part of why it was the first thing when I came back. But no, some great updates came out for merchants on Pinterest. Some crazy new numbers came out as well for Pinterest that we were reading about. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of talk about some of these new updates on the Pinterest platform for businesses. But also, I would love to start off with some of those numbers we were just talking about.
Please, absolutely.
Okay, Pinterest is up 37% with monthly users. And they're at a
That's
point right now where they're almost really close. They're almost rivaling TikTok. TikTok currently has 100 million monthly users, and Pinterest has 98 million.
That's just incredible. I know you've said that to me a few times today, and I'm glad you said it again just for it to sink in. It really is a staggering number.
It's especially staggering when you consider, I think a lot of the times when we have conversations about the intersection of social media and using that as a platform for your business and using it as a merchant platform, the first things that people tend to go toward are Facebook and Instagram. And surprisingly, the third thing I've heard is a lot of TikTok. And of course, we have our TikTok add-on marketing package here as well. But the thing with I think TikTok, especially compared to Pinterest, actually all of these compared to Pinterest, is and this is why I think that Pinterest is the most underutilized. We've kind of said it before, but it does the extra step of putting you in front of people that are ready to make a change and ready to buy, and it's connecting you to a very specific audience. It's almost giving you a gift. It's giving you a little present of, because imagine you're scrolling through TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I think the biggest complaint I have seen from users on the platform, especially my peers, is they're saying, I'm tired of being sold something every 5 minutes. And I'm tired of my posts being deprioritized in favor of merchants and promoted posts. Especially TikTok, it's a harder place to sell because you have to you have 6 seconds or less to get somebody's attention before they push up. Whereas Pinterest, and the new study they did also spoke a bit about the kinds of boards they see the most, which is important because that kind of tells us to the very specific audiences that we're looking at for that. But it's a lot of home improvement, which we've talked about. It's a lot of gifts, which is huge because if you think about it, anything can be a gift. You can make a gift basket for whatever your business is. And at-home workouts as well. So the idea being that you are, when you're pinning, you're putting your things up, you're creating your ads and your promotions. I would seriously, I think if you're not doing Pinterest in this moment, that you're seriously missing out.
It's so fascinating when you were saying that, because I was thinking, because you said the thing about, people in your peer group, your friends are saying, hey, I'm so tired of being on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, and I'm being sold to, my things are being deprioritized. And it hit me, that so speaks to your point about why is that really irritating? Because they're not on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok to buy anything. They're there to be entertained. They're there to watch something or learn something. They're certainly not there to shop. It'd be like, it's just a crude analogy, but it'd be like you went into the movie theater, you sat down to watch the movie, and you had, an hour of various tools or books to buy instead. And you had to sit through that until, the latest film, until Tenet came on. Like that. So that it's that level of, not getting what you came for. Whereas it sounds like in Pinterest, hey, this is what, for lack of a better word, there's almost like, and obviously much less experienced with the platform than you, but there's kind of a merging between I'm intrigued to look at this and I may buy something like this. It seems like there's if not a synergy there, then certainly a combination.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And I think I like what you mentioned about the movie theater, because it made me think too, you're almost, there's a certain demand of entertainment out of an ad per platform. And I would say maybe the most entertainment that you have to offer. And that's the other thing, is how are you stretching yourself? If you have to create an ad that talks about what your thing does, and I think especially, differs product to product, you not only have the burden of selling that product and making your case, you have the burden of having to be entertaining. TikTok may be the highest, then maybe like Instagram, Facebook.
Okay.
No, not on that just by opinion.
No, but I think I certainly agree with it.
Whereas Pinterest, you're scrolling because you want to. It's almost aspirational, and it's not that it's easier to find your audience as well, because this is literally what people are looking for. If you create at-home workouts is a great example. There's so many different things. If you're a sunscreen, if you're an apparel brand, if you make yoga mats, if you make towels, all of these things are at-home workout kind of ancillary things, and you can tag on to that. And the other thing is, it creates this atmosphere of a casual buyer, and I'm biased because I think I'm probably the key demographic for people who want to sell on Pinterest. But
you are something of an apostle and evangelist for it, yes. Which is good. I've learned so much talking to you about it.
I'm a born again Pinterester. I used to reject it. I used to get mad too sometimes when I would get tricked into an ad. But now, I think too, it's if you look at these things too, like babies, Christmas gifts, home improvement, all of these things that have a lot of boards. These things also signify disposable income. So have a baby, you're buying things for a baby. At home workout, you're not spending that money on a gym membership right now. What are you going to do to amp up your routine? Home improvement, you want to spend that money and install whatever is popped up. And so you're sliding in. So with that said, all these new tools that Pinterest has introduced have made it that much easier, I think, for you to sliding in is really the deal. I think it's a lot of different aesthetic changes, as well as things in terms of the shopping platform and shopping straight from Pinterest without having to go directly to a second site.
Boy, I love what you said about it being aspirational, and just but aspirational in a way that like you can be a part of. I mean, it's a very old social media joke, and I'm going to mangle it. I forget who said it. They deserve credit, but each of the platforms, broken down is that like, Facebook and Instagram are that my life is so great, whereas Twitter is like my life is so terrible. Whereas like Pinterest seems to be like, hey, these are some things that are great, and you can be a part of it. Like, and this is how you can get it, in a way that Instagram, I think, maybe has more of a, hey, look at me kind of aesthetic. Whereas Pinterest is like, have you considered this?
Absolutely. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've seen the new Wonder Woman movie, but Pedro Pascal's character always says, Pinterest is, life is good, but it could be better.
Instagram says that too. It just says it with the sneer he does in that movie. Yes. But yeah.
It's sharky though. There's that sharkiness of Facebook, or like people, there's a lot of discourse on Facebook. There's a lot of comparison on Instagram. There's a lot of, I don't want to say negativity, but opportunities for tension where you're not reaching someone in the prime, like buying market headspace.
Yeah. I agree with all that 100%.
One of the things that I think is really cool, and I think Pinterest is atmosphere is a word that can be used a lot with Pinterest, because I think too, in creating your boards, you're trying to manifest that atmosphere. So one of Pinterest's new tools, and I'll put it up here, and you might have seen it on I sent you the article with all the new stuff, is taggable purchases. That's not the word. Taggable products.
Okay.
So you get an image of, and I think the image in particular, is it's like a kitchen. So you're doing home improvement looking to buy kitchen stuff, when you pull up that pin, it'll be a picture of the kitchen, that you might want to tag. And when you tap it, much like Facebook, Instagram, when you tag a person, their name pops up. The individual products in the picture will pop up. So it's
Oh,
like, look at this atmosphere. You like this atmosphere? Here's how you can get it. They can
nice.
tap right there, and the it's just another example of Pinterest just making it that much easier to take my money and sell
Right.
your product.
But I think that's it though. I think that's that just from what you're saying. I mean, again, not to run down the other platforms, but just by point of comparison, it sounds like Pinterest is the one that's kind of like, hey, we're going to work with you the most on this. I mean, that's not to say that you can't target ads in the other places and all that sort of thing, but it just seems like by Pinterest being like, you can tag these products, you can tag this thing, seems like one more, even more, or just as much organic way to get what you're trying to sell out in front of more folks that might be interested. That seems really helpful.
Absolutely. And I think too what Pinterest provides, because it almost acts like a search engine, is that same kind of data in terms of the buyer, like the stream of consciousness too. And I
Mm,
think that allows Pinterest a way to it offers another layer, another dimension of being able to put yourself out there. Because much like we've said, Facebook and Instagram, you are not giving them that data of, you're not looking for things other than maybe people you went to high school with and like you're creeping
right.
on.
Right.
But you're
Yes.
not searching, you're not giving them that. I am thinking about doing a kitchen, and I'm thinking about this corner of the kitchen, and I want this kind of cupboard, and I want this very specific kind of cupboard. That's 4 searches that and Pinterest is learning each person's profile as it goes. It really is putting you in front of the right people because it's getting all of that, which leads to another fantastic development. They have added an analytics tool for businesses on Pinterest, which I think is the most important thing on any platform that you can use,
Certainly.
because data, there's nothing more powerful than data. That house, and I just can't agree with anyone saying and being like, gosh, I just don't know why this isn't working. Look at your analytics, and now you can with Pinterest, and it charts your conversions. And so it's, from click to checkout, it tracks a lot of those interactions. So much like Pinterest is creating that kind of buyer profile, viewer profile for its users, you can create that kind of profile for the people that are looking at your stuff and buying your stuff.
Okay, so it's not, so it really isn't just, posting things on your board and hoping for the best. You can actually use these analytics to find out how you're better targeting people. And also, from the way you're talking, these aren't like, the advanced placement, impossible to parse analytics. It sounds like they're laid out in a way that, hey, someone that doesn't have a PhD in data science could absolutely follow and learn from.
Without a doubt. Yeah, it's very straightforward. And I think too, so I see a lot of too, I think in terms of, I don't know, I fall into the trap too of always thinking that Pinterest is classified as more of a female tilted platform, but it's really not. But I think of things like little small businesses that are trying to blow up on TikTok.
Mhm.
Where you are really, if you're not paying to boost, you're kind of at the mercy of the algorithm. Whereas if you could take that same hour you did to make the TikTok and do all those other things, if you took that time into working on your Pinterest board, working on your Pinterest ads, you might be more likely to find that niche and be able to kind of build in a way that you're not getting out of the tools of TikTok, because TikTok's not going to tell you where that tab led to, and you can't trace things nearly as well.
Right. No, and I think that's and that I'm so glad you said that, because that always gets back to something that I always think of when it comes to social media marketing that just has to be paramount is the real time management of it. I mean that whether it's for your business or your person or anything else, there are few frustrations more day to day crushing than taking so much time to do anything on social media, video, post, or whatever, and then to find it didn't get the engagement and not know why, and then double down and then continue the cycle and da 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 da. But these analytics are the clearest best, most direct way out of that, so as to and usually, and I'm sure you found this too, it's not a question of like making big changes in terms of things. It's just in terms of, hey, tweaking this here and here from what the analytics say, and then you're more or less growing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just kind of shifting your weight onto the other foot sometimes.
Oh, that's
A
a
lot
great
of
analogy.
shortcuts too that they've set up. Their ad platform now is phenomenal. It has grown so much since it started.
Oh, good.
They have a
Good.
new bidding abilities as well. But I think what else is really cool is it now they've created a space where it's almost like a digital storefront from your Pinterest page. And you
Oh,
can import your catalog of products super easy. So in terms of that time management and thinking that if I want to get into Pinterest, it's going to sink all this time. Absolutely not. And the other thing, if nothing else, I'll go back to the entertainment thing. You're spending energy, but you might be spending less energy than if you had to come up with a 6 to 10 second video
oh, for sure.
marketing yourself, or the promotions on Facebook, etc., because you're even things that are not promoted, even things that are simple pins. And what I would suggest too is having the Pinterest extension on your browser, because as you're building your pages, as you are adding your products, when your page is published, if you hit the Pinterest button, you can just pin that new product to one of your boards and it's done. But when someone discovers that, I'm thinking like I put up new earrings today, when someone's
Okay.
looking for their new outfit, you've pinned those earrings. All I got to do is tap,
Jeez.
they're at your site, and
Oh,
that's not even messing with the ads. That's not bidding on ads. That is
right.
totally free. That is 5 minutes of your time. Just tack on
Oh,
what you're
wow.
already doing.
Wow, Noel. Well, yeah, no, I mean that's tremendous, and that feeds into where I was going to go with this. Now, the fascinating thing you brought up from the article, you were talking about TikTok, and whenever and you mentioned how Pinterest is seen, inaccurately as female coded. TikTok is very much youth coded. It is seen as the thing for the Zoomers and the youngest people, whereas Pinterest is often, in addition to being seen as all female, seen as the opposite, seen as older folks, boomers, seniors, that kind of thing. But as this article and stuff you showed me, it's very much not the case as well, right?
Yeah, it is very widespread. And if nothing else, you can see it from kind of that collection of the highest ranking uh, the most common boards that are seen, from the home improvement to babies, like that is, yes, more like maybe the younger generation that just getting settled in, versus the older. There's a lot of stuff too for different kinds of tips and stuff. This is where it really comes into play. What are you trying to sell? Because there are so many people, like let's say, a great example is a car accident lawyer. Car
Okay.
accident lawyer should not be getting up and doing TikTok dances.
Oh, right. No, 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 no. Where they
You
dance and it says like, yeah, what if you broke your neck? And then like down here, wrongful death. Like, yeah, that's a bad. It's as
I don't
much
know,
dancing as we can
because
do on this podcast. But yes, that's exactly right. That perhaps sends a contradictory to your brand. Yeah, that's a good point.
you can go on, and this is I love suggesting Canva because it's free.
Mhm.
You can create things that'll link over to your site. Great example of a Pinterest uh, a pin for a car accident lawyer would be an infographic of
Right.
getting in a car accident. What should I do now? Because that is, and if somebody is, that also speaks to
That's
the
a
youth.
common thing.
It's if you're a fresh driver and you're pitting, okay, here are my stop signs, and here are like stop signs. Here are the traffic signals, and I'm going to pin this thing and
Right.
this for my permit test. And if I get into a car accident, I'm going to pin this too. And then when you come back to it, if you have been in a car accident, you tap it, and where are you at?
Hmm.
The lawyer
Right.
site. So
Right. Yeah, no, 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 no. That's so good because I mean, particularly as we're a company that has a lot of clients like that, and so much of the content and the marketing we put out there for them is in this advisory, should you need it, hopefully you don't kind of way. Whereas from what you're saying, Pinterest makes that very organic. So you're like, oh yeah, I like what that smart lawyer said that I was just thumbing through that blog. Oh geez, I've been in this terrible accident. Well, that person's right there. I don't have to search for them all across Google again and then find someone else across town that's not nearly as competent, that this for not to use it as a pun, that does seem like a very easy way to pin something for the future. That I walked right into that. I was trying so hard to get around that word choice wise, and there's pin does not have a lot of synonyms. It's not like I stamped it, I nailed it to the wall. Those are all far too aggressive. But yeah, that but I mean that's right. That's what a great way to in a very real way. It's almost, for lack of a better phrase, it's like an emergency kit. Like if you're reading stuff, and you're like, hey, I hope something never happens to me or someone I love, but if they do, I hope I remember this. Here's a very, very real and easy way to have access to that.
Absolutely. And this is why I think that some of the most successful, we talked a little bit about this actually when we on our first Pinterest podcast, we were looking at things like little quick recipes and stuff for selling drinks or accessories, etc. Much like recipes, this kind of car accident checklist, etc. If you can teach somebody something, if you can give them material they can learn from, if you can establish yourself as an authority, give them that tool, congratulations. That's what this whole platform is all about, because it's all aspirational. We want to learn, we want to do something new. This is where we go back to, when I used to be a nanny, I had a nannying board and I had all these things of safety and this and that. And when you tap, I didn't tap often because I did pretty good. I didn't really need a lot of help. Yeah. There were so many resources or things I could get on Amazon that would make, getting ready for snack time easier, like little silly things. So think of what you do, think of what you have to provide. People like Scope, and talking about identifying mold or other kind of discrepancies in the house, how to get rid of mold. You have that could be a blog post that already exists, and you just have an infographic that goes with it, and the infographic you tap leads to the blog post, which is on the page, and congrats, they're there, and they know the mold can't be cleaned themselves, so they're already at your doorstep. So
right, yeah, you're established as an authority, someone they can trust, and you're readily accessible. That is that right, short of Pinterest specifically calling these people on your behalf and saying, use this business, there's not a whole lot else they could do to make that process more direct.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's it's just mind blowing having this conversation with you, because we've been in this pandemic now for 11 months. The digital age is upon us, and yet even though we had this podcast months ago, like, hey, Pinterest is out there, it seems like even just in that time between then and when we're speaking now, Pinterest has continued to rocket up in terms of both growth and what it offers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Seeing that number was really satisfying. 37 up 30%. I can't preach it enough. There's so many free things you can do for yourself on there. They've made the ad platform amazing, and I would absolutely suggest running ads, testing ads out. But for free, install that stuff on your browser and just pin it, because if nothing else, it adds authority to your page, something to strengthen you. So
right, and it's just and then we always like to have something on there that you can do right after you listened or watch this podcast, and there it is, real simple. Go, you don't have a Pinterest, get started on one, get it out there, go do that. I mean, and it's just, and if you take nothing else from these podcasts we've done about Pinterest, some of your customers are there. You may not know it, you may not know which ones, but they're there. That's true. Whatever business you're in, you may not think that, where are people aren't there on Pinterest? They're very special. No, they are there. They are there somewhere. They're using it right now, even if it might not seem that way.
1,000%. Yeah.
Well, that was great. I genuinely learned a lot. I usually do, but this time in particular, is there anything else you wanted to say other than just go check Pinterest? If I had a sign, I'd hold that up now. I should write one. Just the overarching message from this,
that's it. Yeah, I had a little thing in a previous podcast that was like days without mentioning Pinterest. I'm gonna put that in. I'm gonna scratch it off right at the beginning of this, and it's well, that's good.
That's good. I mean, that comes from the old joke about days without an accident, which means something bad has happened. This is the opposite. Pinterest is there. It's helping. It's again. I mean, I guess technically call it a Pinterest eruption, but again, that's the positive thing. So. Well, this as ever was great. On behalf of Website Depot. So glad and good to see you again there, Noel. And yeah, get on Pinterest. And until we see you next time, take it easy. Have a good night.